Let's start with what USDsui actually is, because, understanding the infrastructure is important. It's a dollar-pegged stablecoin. That means one USDsui equals $1 in value. It's built on Bridge's open issuance platform. That's not random. Bridge is infrastructure connected to Stripe, which means payment rail integration is built in from day one. The backing is straightforward: cash and US Treasury holdings. That's the reserve. When someone mints USDsui, actual dollars or treasury assets go into the reserve vault. That's the standard for a credible stablecoin. You can't have a dollar-pegged asset without actual dollar equivalent backing. That's how you prevent depegging risk. The use cases are where USDsui becomes useful: wallets, DeFi platforms, gaming economies, payment applications. Basically, any economic activity on Sui that needs a stable settlement layer can use USDsui. That's the point. It's infrastructure designed to be used constantly across the ecosystem. At this point, USDsui looks like every other stablecoin. USDC, USDT, DAI, they're all dollar-pegged, they're all backed, they're all used across ecosystems. The difference is in the economics underneath, not the surface functionality. Here's where USDsui becomes fundamentally different from USDC or USDT. When you hold US Treasuries, they generate yield, they pay interest. When you hold cash reserves, they can generate yield through various mechanisms. That yield is income. In traditional stablecoin models, USDC, USDT, even DAI, the issuer captures that yield as revenue. Circle captures USDC yield. Tether captures USDT yield. They keep it. It's their profit margin. That's perfectly legitimate. Stablecoin issuance is a profitable business if scaled. But here's Sui's innovation. A portion of that reserve-generated revenue gets redirected back into the Sui ecosystem. Not all of it necessarily, but a significant portion. What can that yield be used for? Buy back SUI tokens from the market. Burn SUI tokens to reduce supply. Fund liquidity incentives across DeFi applications. Basically, anything that strengthens the Sui ecosystem economically. This creates a feedback loop. More people use USDsui. More value sits in the reserves, more yield gets generated, more revenue available to buy back SUI tokens, more buyback pressure on SUI, higher SUI price. But here's the critical part. This isn't just one-time revenue. It's continuous. Every day, every week, every month, as long as people use USDsui, reserves generate yield, and that yield feeds back into the ecosystem. The mechanism turns a stablecoin into a token flywheel. The bigger the stablecoin, the stronger the flywheel. The stronger the flywheel, the more SUI gets bought back and burned. The more SUI gets scarce through burning, the more valuable remaining SUI becomes. Sui basically engineered a system where stablecoin adoption automatically creates structural demand for SUI tokens. That's elegant. That's intentional design. To understand why Sui did this, you need to understand the problem most blockchains face. Networks like Ethereum, Solana, Polygon, they process massive volumes of stablecoin transactions, hundreds of billions of dollars, but most of that activity uses USDC or USDT. What does that mean economically? The value flows through the network, but the financial upside goes to Circle or Tether. Sui was processing hundreds of billions in stablecoin volume, but the reserve yield, the actual income from backing those assets, went to external stablecoin issuers, not Sui. This is a structural leak. The network provides the infrastructure. The network's users generate demand. The network's ecosystem enables use cases. But the financial benefit goes outside. It's like owning a shopping mall. You build it, you rent the spaces, you handle all the infrastructure, but another company operates the payment system and captures all the payment processing fees. You get foot traffic. They get the margin. That's not sustainable long-term. It's not optimal for token holders. It's not optimal for ecosystem development. By launching USDsui, Sui closes that leak. Now when people use stablecoins on Sui, the reserve yield stays inside. Sui captures the economic benefit of its own liquidity flows. That benefit feeds back into token buybacks and ecosystem funding. This is the correct economic model for a blockchain, with ambitions to be a settlement layer. If you're going to be infrastructure for money flow, you should benefit from that money flow. Here's the broader strategic insight. Stablecoins have become the financial backbone of blockchain ecosystems. They're not optional, they're essential. Every major blockchain needs them to enable payments, trading, lending, settlement. Most networks treat stablecoins as passive infrastructure. They're just there to provide settlement. They enable activity, but the activity is treated as separate from token economics. Sui's approach treats stablecoins as active growth infrastructure. Every transaction is an opportunity. Every transaction generates reserve yield. Every bit of yield feeds back into the ecosystem. If USDsui adoption scales, and there's real reason to believe it could because of Stripe integration and payment rail connections, the impact becomes compounding. More adoption creates more yield creates more buyback creates scarcity, more scarcity creates price appreciation, higher price makes the ecosystem more valuable ecosystem attracts more adoption. That's a virtuous cycle. That's how you turn a stablecoin into an engine for ecosystem growth. Think about what happens if USDsui becomes the standard settlement asset on Sui. Gaming economies settle in USDsui. DeFi protocols use USDsui for collateral and lending. Payment applications run on USDsui. Every single one of those use cases generates reserve yield, which automatically funds SUI buybacks. Now Sui has a steady state where every bit of economic activity on the network directly strengthens the native token. That's not theoretical, that's structural incentive alignment. If you're understanding how Sui engineered a stablecoin that strengthens its own tokenomics, you need to like this video right now. One click helps the algorithm reach people who understand token mechanics beyond surface-level narratives. Plus, share this with other people interested in blockchain economics. They need to understand why this design is smarter than most token launches. Let's talk about what this actually means for SUI's price and long-term value. The mechanism is straightforward. Stablecoin adoption drives token buybacks. Token buybacks reduce supply. Reduced supply increases scarcity. Scarcity drives price appreciation. But here's the important distinction. This isn't artificial price support. This isn't just burning tokens for no reason. The buybacks are funded by actual economic activity, actual reserve yield from actual user deposits. The higher the stablecoin adoption, the larger the yield pool, the more aggressive the buybacks can be. This creates what economists call a sustainable equilibrium. As long as USDsui sees adoption, the mechanism works. If adoption stalls, so does the buyback pressure. But the incentive structure is aligned. The team benefits from USDsui adoption because adoption funds the ecosystem and SUI buybacks. Most token launch designs don't have this. Most networks have tokens that are technically useful for governance or gas fees, but don't have mechanisms that create structural demand. SUI has a structural demand mechanism built into the core stablecoin. If Sui executes well, if USDsui adoption accelerates, if Stripe integration drives real payment volume, the buyback pressure becomes persistent. That's the kind of thing that doesn't just move price short-term. That builds long-term value. Here's why this matters beyond just Sui. This is a template. Other networks could copy this. Other blockchains could launch native stablecoins with reserve yield redirected back into ecosystem growth. The fact that Sui did it first, with real infrastructure backing, bridge platform, Stripe integration, with thoughtful economics matters. This is what mature blockchain economics looks like. Not just we have a token, but we designed a token economics model that aligns incentives across the entire ecosystem. For SUI holders, it means every USDsui transaction is essentially a vote for their asset. Every transaction creates yield. Every yield creates buyback. Every buyback strengthens their holdings. That's the opposite of most blockchain tokens, where adoption benefits the user experience but doesn't directly strengthen the token. Thank you for watching this stablecoin mechanics analysis. Sui's USDsui isn't just infrastructure, it's a token flywheel disguised as a settlement layer. The genius of the design is that it's not obvious at first glance. It looks like a normal stablecoin, but the economics underneath are intentional and sophisticated. Every adoption creates buyback pressure. Every buyback creates scarcity. Every scarcity creates value. If you want to stay updated on USDsui adoption metrics, reserve yield tracking, SUI buyback activity, and how this mechanism plays out in real time, stay subscribed. We're tracking when token economics designs actually create value. Check out the other videos on TJ Crypto World. We've got deep dives on token mechanics, stablecoin economics, blockchain infrastructure, and everything else you need to understand how mature crypto projects actually work. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate the analytical community, and I'll see you in the next tokenomics analysis.